Well, guys, I think I found the culprit. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't the gaskets. I did not see that little nick right there. I don't know if you can focus. And I don't know what it's from. Like that there is from a burr, like the burr slipped. But that, I'm not sure if it tipped over and hit something. You can see a little bit of nick from a burr around it, but that's pretty significant. And there's something here too that's like a corrosion or whatever, but the gasket looked good. It had, you can still see where it had a seal all the way around, but right there is where it got something there. So what I'm gonna do, true redneck fashion, put a little bit of JB Weld on there, smooth it off, and then put a real gasket on it. I've got a couple of 10 and 11 Velcros. Usually, not always, but every once in a while, you find them on Rock Auto. They're in a warehouse clearance for like 15 or 20 bucks a piece. So I had a couple sets set aside. Was not planning to use them already, but it's a safe bet to go with them. And I took this motor mount off to grind a little relief in there for the header. So we're gonna start to put some JB Weld on there and then put this other head on. And then by then, the head JB Weld ought to be dried up enough I can put this one on. So we'll get that started tonight. Put the intake on in the morning. I'm waiting for a gasket for the backing plate. And maybe we'll fire it up tomorrow afternoon. Just gotta remember, gotta let it sit for a little bit, most of the day tomorrow, for the RTV to set up on the China rails. And if I do start it, to not have vacuum PCV hooked up, so there's no vacuum in the valley there. All right, we'll have more updates later on. Appreciate it. Figured I would show you this before I put it back on. You can see in there. I get all the synchronization of the wiggling. Try it with this hand. See, it's hanging in there. That's the filler for the EGR port. And here, you can see it's still hanging in there. It's shrunk from being, I guess, when it fully cured, but it's still there. So granted, we haven't run it real hard. It's just been idling here in the garage, but that's... Happy Friday, fellas. So I got the car running last night, Thursday night. At first it started smoking out of the same tailpipe as before. I was like, man, but let it run a little bit and it seemed to just dissipate. I think it was just residual junk in the in this chamber and then cylinder and stuff. But I did find another issue. I think the injector on number 5 is kaput, because I always check with the heat gun all of the pipes, and all the other ones were getting up around 500-600 after idling for a minute or so, and that one stayed under 200 the whole time. So I pulled the plug. It's got spark. I put a different plug in the lead, a brand new 3924, and it had a different spark than the plug that was in it. So I'm gonna put a new plug in there, and then if it still don't work, then I'll have to pull the injector. I've got another set of the Chinese ones I can throw in there, but I'd kind of rather have all the same Ford Motorsport. Ideally, I'd rather have that a Holly set that I have, but I can't find them right now. I'm sure I'll find them after next week. I'll be cleaning in here and before I start on the mass air conversion on the pickup. So let me show you what I'm doing right now. We're just changing oil. I drained it, pulled the plugs out last night, the oil drain plugs. Let it drain overnight. Got these 2 drain plugs. I put Teflon tape on them. We're gonna smear a little bit of this on there too, kind of give her the double whammy, and then fill her up with some Valvoline goodness. Put 5 quarts in and then measure on a dipstick where it's at, just to kind of get an idea of where it is, so we can mark incrementally on a dipstick where 5, 6, and 7 quarts is. And then we'll start it up, and then if it's still, number 5 still don't work, then we'll pull them out and put these other ones in. All right, so let me get started on that. Catch you next. All right, guys, so we got the injectors in from China. That's a set I had bought a couple years ago just to have. I was going to use them in the Dugan wagon. One thing I'd like to point out, maybe save you some time, when you do swap injectors, you get them bolted down, make sure they kind of spin a little bit like this. If it's not, it's bound up on the O-rings, and the O-rings are it's gonna leak. So whenever I do stuff like this, I put something together before I put the upper on. I make sure I don't have any leaks, so I prime the pump real good and make sure it ain't squirting out. Because if it's leaking, you'll hear it from over here. You don't need to stand up here. You can hear it because it's 40 psi coming out at a small hole, so it's got a good velocity to it. You'll hear it. So now we're ready to put the upper on. Just make sure that is out of the way. Seeing people get that caught too many times. All right, we'll wrap this up and then we'll fire it up and see what happens. So the new injectors ran. I guess I don't really like it. I haven't put the laptop on to see what's going on with it, but maybe it just takes a little bit to figure it out. I had the power turned off for a while, so it should reset. Maybe it's just got to relearn it. They haven't been running a long time. Hopefully they're not gummed up. But it's running. Got like 75 pounds of oil pressure. So I'll probably have to tweak up the idle air bypass. See what's going on. But it's running. As soon as Benson gets his car moved, we'll get her out of here and go for a ride. Man, it's like 80 degrees. It's trying to be summertime here. All right, so we're going to the dyno tomorrow. You guys got to play the game. What's it gonna make? The engine's in the description. Give a shot. I'll before I leave for the dyno Saturday morning, I'll put my prediction in the comments just to see. I know the dyno it's only a tool, to be used in this little hobby we got, but it's useful to take that and then Wallace Racing and then Wallace Racing calculators, and then you can kind of figure out where your car should be. Usually they'll overachieve a little bit compared, like you take the dyno at Johnny's, Wallace Racing, and then put in the weather data for Atmore. We can usually come within a tenth or two. So, and I don't expect this to be, like I said, super fast. The 720s is what I anticipate, just because it's probably going to weigh close to 3,000 pounds again, and it's not going to make a whole bunch of power, but it's still got to move all that weight. So that's about it. We'll see if we can get up to the dyno without getting stuck alongside the road somewhere. All right, appreciate all later. All right, guys, we out riding through the neighborhood. The windshield's dirty. It's been sitting for a while. Seems to be running okay. Definitely needs to pull some spark out of the low load thing. You can hear it kind of bumping against the throttle when it gets down. Should be coming on. Bump, 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 bump. That's usually it's a little lean, or else too much spark right there. So last time I tried to hook the laptop up to it, I kept on getting the blue screen. So I might have to switch to the backup tablet that Richard Sickles gave me. The transmission shifts well and runs decent enough. Just got to get the idle find that other set, they'll be going back in here. That. And look at that. Steering wheel even rides straight while we're going down the road. I'll be darned. So after tomorrow's Dyno day, and then Sunday's supposed to be track day, I'll probably ride this up there and then just get some miles on the clutch, and then spend the rest of next week cleaning the garage, looking for them injectors before I get started on the mass air conversion for the pickup. All right, so we'll probably wrap this up. Go ahead and post up what you think it'll make on the Dyno. I got no prizes, just bragging rights maybe. That's all you get. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on. No, you're probably thinking, what the hell now? Well, I drove it, and then I brought it back, and I fiddled with the tune a little bit. I was going to drive it again. I backed out of the driveway, and there's a huge oil puddle in where the car was sitting. So I brought it over here to the garage, because I had it parked in the other front of the other one. And I put it up on ramps, and there's where the seams in the back corner of the oil pan come together. There's a little pinhole there apparently. So for a pinhole, it dropped a significant amount of oil. So I stood there for a minute thinking, and I was like, I wonder if you can weld the oil pan with oil in it. So I brought it back in the garage, jacked it up, was looking at it, and the oil was steady coming out. So I was like, well, I probably can't weld it with oil dripping out. So I drained the oil that I just put in this morning, and cleaned it real good with alcohol, not brake cleaner. Don't ever clean something with brake cleaner if you're going to weld, because it should have put you in the hospital. The fumes from some chemical in there, it'll hurt your brain. So cleaned it with alcohol, got a little sanding disc and cleaned it off, and gave it a little zap. Then I had a couple of zaps on there just to make sure I had it good. And then I got an insurance code of JB Weld over the whole works. So I'll show you that here. That is where it was at, right here, about in that spot. So like I said, I welded it and I filed it down and put a JB Weld over it. It'll be fine. No, I thought I'd done something when I jacked it up, you know, in this, using the cross member here that slipped. But no, it looks like they just had a little gap in the weld there, and it didn't bother it until it ran. Maybe when I first torqued it down, I heard a little pop, but I don't think that was it. That caused anything. But anyway, I guess it pays to really check over the welds on these before you put them on or before you run them. All right, let me show you what I'm doing up on top. I'm taking the injectors out and put the other ones back in. I found a filter to replace for that one. I took one of my old 19s and put a filter out of it and fixed this connector. The pins were pushing out a little bit, so I just got to make sure to push that wire in so it makes good contact. So I'll put these back in the morning, give the fuel time to drain back out, and besides, it's late. Alice is going to be coming out here with ask me if I want a pillow on the blanket any minute now. So I'm going to get inside. All right, appreciate y'all. Later on.